Welcome to our week 2 matchup between the Vancouver Ursarings and the Boston Momolutions here in the Victory Road League. Both teams come in with an 0-1 record, and one team will come out of this standing with one win, and somebody will be walking away with a 2-game losing streak. Of course, the Momolutions running their all-evolution team, and Vancouver running Snorlax, Machamp, Politoed, Gardevoir, Dragonite, and Absol as we get ready to have this first match set here in week 2. Now, based on standings, even though both teams are 0-1, teams were able to pick up points where they could, which was the most important thing here. Especially if you started 0-1, it was the most important thing you could have done in getting yourself into a comfortable position, especially if you could come out here in week 2 and win, to boost yourself up even more on the standings. But nonetheless, here we go. Vancouver, Boston, week 2 matchup. Boston's going to send out Leafeon and Sylveon to start, and Vancouver with Snorlax and Dragonite. Typically, I would say neutral favored matchup, maybe leaning a little bit more towards Vancouver's side here, but nonetheless, still a decent matchup in our sights as we wait for what these two competitors decide to do and bring here in week 2. Dragonite with the Fire Blast onto the Leafeon. That is going to leave it with 10 hit points left. Super effective. Here comes the Leaf Storm from the Leafeon onto the Snorlax. You're going to want to try to get as much damage onto that Snorlax. The special attack drop. And here comes Hyper Voice, which will hit both Dragonite and Snorlax, excuse me. Decent damage on both. And here comes the Body Slam, getting rid of the Leafeon. And there is a point for Vancouver here already in week 2. What does Boston try to do to counteract this? It's very important. Here comes Espeon out on the field. Potentially a deadly duo between Sylveon and Espeon on Boston's end, depending on what Vancouver decides to do here. Here in our best 2 out of 3 matchup here in week 2. Reminder, folks, that matches are usually played Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays on the VRL. Here comes a Fire Blast. Sylveon will avoid the attack. Here comes a Psychic from the Espeon onto the Dragonite. It is a KO and a point to Boston. And we are all knotted up with three Mons left and getting a Mystical Fire. And that's going to drop Snorlax's special attack by 1. And here comes a Earthquake from the Snorlax onto the Sylveon and the Espeon. Sylveon eating that up. What does Boston try to do here? As both teams, like I said, walking into this week 0-1. So you want to try to get that first win finally. And here comes Gardevoir with Trace. It traces Sylveon's Pixelate. Will Vancouver decide to Mega Evolve Gardevoir here? That is the question. And unfortunately, Boston doesn't have too much to counteract if Vancouver decides to Mega Evolve this Gardevoir. But we shall see, folks. And we've got a slate of more games coming the further into the weekend on Sunday. 5 matchups await us here. And there is the Mega Evolution for the Gardevoir right out the gates. Man. Espeon using a Calm Mind. Interesting choice right here on turn 2 with Espeon, but that special attack and special defense is going to rise. Gardevoir with the Psyshock onto the Sylveon. It is a KO, and there's another point for Vancouver. And the Body Slam onto the Espeon. It's enough to take it out. Boston with 1 chance here in the first match. Vancouver already picking up 3 points here in this match set. And here comes a Vaporeon for Boston's end. A tall task is ahead, but I've seen crazier things happen here in this game. Boston with a tough road ahead, but a gentle reminder that they do have a second match to be played. That Psyshock is going to do a bit of damage. Here comes a Muddy Water, and that barely does enough. Gardevoir's accuracy is going to fall. Here comes the Body Slam from the Snorlax. And Vaporeon's going to survive on 7, but it is paralyzed. Unfortunate, but kicks in the leftovers here. Interesting choice by both sides, both squads. Vaporeon extending this first match with a Protect. Here comes the Psyshock. Not gonna hit. And the Body Slam, of course, is also not going to hit this Vaporeon. And they're gonna kick in the leftovers once more, getting themselves about 35 HP. Now, I would say momentum is completely in Vancouver's way. Protect works again for Boston on the Vaporeon. So they are going to live another turn here and extend their life, especially with that leftovers attached to it. What is Boston cooking up? They are now up to 49 hit points here in the first match of the best 2 out of 3 here in week 2 against Vancouver. Man. Very interesting choices to be made. The Protect won't go. It fails. There's the Psyshock, and that should do it for match 1, folks. As we head and get ready for our second match of our best 2 out of 3 here in week 2 between Vancouver and Boston. And here we are, folks, with the second match of the best 2 out of 3 here between Vancouver and Boston. Vancouver switching some things up, bringing Hydreigon, King Gambit, and Abomasnow. And I believe Boston switched it up, bringing in Umbreon and Jolteon this time around instead of the Leafeon. So, as these trainers prepare, total point score is Vancouver walking out of here for sure with 5 points onto their standings. Boston will gain 1 more point, which is critical because you want to get as many points even if you lose. Make it as close as possible. But if you're Boston, you want to try to get that win secured. An exciting matchup, and we've got 5 more coming your guys' way Sunday with multiple squads facing off. All right, second match between Boston and Vancouver. Here comes the Sylveon and Umbreon for Boston, and Abomasnow and Gardevoir. 2 Pokemon that could easily Mega Evolve. It's going to trace Umbreon's Inner Focus, and here comes Abomasnow's Snow Warning, which is going to set up that snow for 5 turns. And what does Boston have to counteract? Now, here comes the Gardevoir Mega Evolving right away off the rip. Very bold choice. If you are Vancouver, you want to try to just get this out of the way as quick as possible. Here comes a Moonblast onto the Umbreon. It is a 1-hit KO. Super effective. And there goes the Umbreon right away for Boston. And here comes a Blizzard from the Abomasnow. Does a healthy amount onto the Sylveon. Mystical Fire from the Sylveon leaves the Abomasnow on 5 hit points. That special attack is going to fall. Can Boston come back? And you've got a question, even if Boston can't come back and win this match, can they at least pick themselves up a couple of points here in the Victory Road League to keep themselves, even though if they don't come out with the win, keep themselves within standings reach, especially when they do get a win. and how that will work. Vancouver, of course, lost to Portland last week. Boston losing to Los Angeles. Both teams coming in here hungry for a first win of the regular season. And here comes the Flareon from Boston's side. There's still 4 turns of snow left here in our Week 2 matchup here in the Victory Road League. And we appreciate so much of your guys' love and support through the first week of the Victory Road League. Such a great turnout as we continue to grow our game. And we find out here in our first season who will take the crown, as our statement is. Gardevoir with the Moonblast onto the Sylveon. Interesting choice. Is going to leave Sylveon with 36 hit points left. Flareon is going to use Charm onto the Gardevoir. And the attack is going to fall. Hyper Voice onto both the Gardevoir and the Abomasnow. The Abomasnow is going to faint. Gardevoir is at half. Boston still not out of this. Folks, this still could go 3 matches if Boston plays their cards right. And now the rain will be set up, possibly, depending on what Vancouver decides to do with this Politoed. And you gotta hope that if you are Boston or a Boston fan, that you hope that Coach Momo brought possibly either the Vaporeon to counteract this Politoed or the Jolteon to counteract this Politoed. As both trainers taking their time, making sure that every play counts as they try to walk out of here with points and hopefully, depending on which squad you are, with a win. And there is going to be the withdrawal. Jolteon is going to come on out. Sylveon will use a Protect. And here comes Politoed with the Hydro Pump. Jolteon will avoid the attack. Moonblast. And it's going to be protected by the Sylveon. What a play from Boston's end, folks. Boston completely not out of it yet. Amazing plays here by Boston's end. Who is going to come out of this second match the winner? Can Vancouver seal the deal and get their first win here in Season 1 of the Victory Road League? Or will Boston come back from behind? Jolteon with a Weather Ball onto the Gardevoir. Doesn't do as much, but it does a decent amount. And here comes another Weather Ball from the Politoed onto the Jolteon. Does almost half. And Gardevoir with a Moonblast is gonna hit the Sylveon, and Sylveon is out. So another point to Vancouver's end. And Boston left with just Jolteon and Flareon. Can they get at least 1 or 2 more points? Or can they get it to an extended Game 3 for all the marbles here? As Boston and Vancouver decide to take their time deciding their turns. Boston, typically a slower paced team, not only with the Pokemon that they bring, but typically in the decision making. They are typically a slower paced team, which is a very interesting choice nonetheless. And here comes the Electro Web from the Jolteon. Is enough to knock out the Gardevoir. Is super effective on the Politoed. Politoed speed will fall. Down goes Gardevoir. Another point to Boston. They are not out of this yet. Makes the Politoed eat its Citrus Berry. And here comes a superpower from the Flareon. And almost KOs, but drops its attack and defense by 1. And here comes a Hydro Pump. Will hit onto the Flareon. It's gone. And 1 Pokemon stands between Vancouver getting their first win here in Season 1. The snow will finally stop. And what does Vancouver decide to bring out? Their final Pokemon is that Dragonite. All is left up to the Jolteon. Can they survive? Can they come back and knock these two Pokemon off the field and get us to an extended game 3? That is the question, folks. As we are here, week 2 of the Victory Road League. Early in the season, but every point, every win, every loss counts. Discharge onto the Dragonite and Politoed. Boston will at least pick up one more point. That is 3 points in this match alone, and all that stands between Boston getting to a game 3 is this Dragonite. Here comes the Ice Beam. They are going to survive with 28 hit points. Do they have something in the bag to take this to a game 3? Or is Vancouver going to walk out of here with the win? And of course, folks, whoever wins at the end of the match, if we can get them into a post-game interview, we will. Here comes the discharge. Is going to leave Dragonite with 61 points. The Ice Beam will hit. Folks, that is it. Vancouver will win here in week 2 between Boston and Vancouver. What plays? Boston pushing it there to the edge. Boston will drop down to 0-2. And Vancouver will go to 1-1 with their first win here in the Victory Road League. Welcome, folks. We have the coach of the Vancouver Ursarings, Juice. Welcome in, Juice. How did that battle feel? Boston was pushing you there to the edge. How did you navigate that before they were able to push it to a game 3?
Oh my god! Honestly, respect to them for their plays, especially in the end there with the slowing of the speed. I can't remember what move it was, but to prevent me from going first and hit me with that.
Yes.
Oh, if I had died, I actually would have lost it. Genuinely would have lost. It was very close.
For sure. Yeah, that move, Electro Web, was what slowed you down there and almost pretty much did you in. Now, walking in, of course, you lost week 1 against Portland. What was your mindset walking into this week against Boston, and especially knowing what Boston likes to bring with an all-evolution team?
Oh, see, you know what? You give me credit for being a smart competitor and scouting out exactly what my opponents are using. Don't do that. You should take that back immediately. I had absolutely zero idea what I was going to face going in, and I just decided to bring my team again. I just want to see how far they can go. Like, I love my little guys, you know. The secret strat is just be the same every time, see how I handle up, and then when we come back in a future season, right, that's the info. We're taking notes here on how people play, how they like to fight, you know, and then eventually we optimize. For sure,
for sure. Now I must ask, you play Seattle, the Seattle Merrills next week, who happen to be my fiance. What is your mindset going into that match with Seattle? Have you paid attention to what Seattle has done? I know that they've only played one match and they'll play their next match on Sunday, but what is your mindset going into week 3 now that you've gotten your first win, and how you want to keep up this momentum?
You know, it's really nice to know I do have the capacity to possibly pull a few W's with this comp, because Rice and I have had our own matches before the tournament as well. They were my teacher for a lot of the game, so just knowing that I can actually fight somebody and take a W fills me with confidence that maybe these other teams will not be just specially geared towards beating me. And who knows, I'm willing to go either way, the win or a loss for the next, but I will bring nothing but the A game.
Cool, sounds good. Well, we look forward to your match against Seattle next week. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you in week 3.
I appreciate you having me.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, you heard it here, folks. Seattle will be playing Vancouver next week. Seattle yet to play, so they're still sitting at 0-1 as they look to try to get their first win this week against Los Angeles. Boston dropping down to 0-2. Boston will be on a bye week, so they have a week to recover. Kind of think of a strat as they head into week 4, and we shall see what the rest of these matches hold for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification, as it much appreciates and greatly helps the channel out. When we can, we live stream these matches on my Twitch, twitch.tv/GameBoyMJ. The links, everything links to the Twitter, the Instagram, as well as my personal YouTube and pages will be down below. And we'll see you guys in the next one.